Okay, later in the morning, actually probably about approaching afternoon here right now. Still cold outside, so I'm indoors in my dungeon. This being the collection of flower pots and cat litter, along with the byproducts, or some of them at least, of the thermite reaction, which will be pure iron and aluminum oxide. Basically, it's a redox reaction. The heat it releases the oxygen from the iron, which immediately attaches to, it oxidizes the aluminum powder. Essentially what's happened there. Gets doggone hot too. Hot enough to melt the iron, steel, which it did. I'm surprised that there is as much of this nail as left as there is. I'm sure there was some melting down in here. There's a lot of the cat litter clay has become fused to the steel blob that used to be a tuna fish can. I want to know what it was. Oh yeah, that nail's just gone. I want to know what it was that popped in this. I'm almost certain it was the neomagnet in there. Those neodymium magnets, they have some odd properties. If you've ever tried to file one of them, it's like striking a lighter's flint, if not more so. I mean, that stuff, it doesn't take a whole lot of abrasion to really fire off some sparks. It may be, the magnet I was using in there was 3/16 thick, and about 3/8 of an inch in diameter, around high strength neodymium magnet. The magnet was actually in the inside of the can, just kind of stuck in there off to the side, and then the nail head was put on top of that. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. At the very least, I would expect that the temperature got so high that it reached the Curie temperature of that magnet. It basically means turned it into something that's no longer a magnet. And depending on upon how far along you go with that, it may render it non-magnetic altogether, that meaning that it's no longer a magnet. Other magnets may be drawn to it, but itself is probably no longer a magnet, if it's even in one piece. Those neomagnets they're not really a solid as much as a sort of a compressed pellet of materials. It was neodymium, iron, and boron, I believe, for these magnets. And they have they tend to have a coating on them. It's something that looks like chromium. It may be. It chips off, and when it does, it makes very, very sharp, razor sharp pieces. You have to be careful of these things. These magnets, they'll shatter. If they're kind of brittle. They'll shatter if you slam them together or let them do that, because of the attraction to one another. Larger magnets of that type can be, I just have to say, they can be goddamn dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. They'll hurt you real bad. If not a particle in your eye, you could smash your hand with a big enough magnet of that sort. They are not toys, and they're flammable, and maybe even explosive. I'm almost certain, I don't know for sure, but I'm almost certain that pop was because of that magnet being in there. I certainly am going to do another test. There will be no magnets, neomagnets or otherwise, inside. I'll probably do several more. What I'm interested... Oh, by the way, I'm picking up a whiff of sulfur from this. I'm pretty sure clay pots do not contain any sulfur. I know the thermite doesn't. The magnet doesn't. I think this kitty litter does, for some reason. Maybe that's the bonding agent that they use, you know, the binding agent. You know, you get it when it clumps. But for whatever reason, it has a whiff of sulfur, you know, like eggs smell. It's not strong, but it's there. What I'm going to do right this moment, hold on. Pardon me. Okay. Just grabbing a stack of neo-magnets. I got hundreds of these things somehow. The magnet I used in there was one of these. 3/16 thick, maybe 3/8 in diameter. Quite strong. I'm going to see if I can find... Ooh, what's that? That's about where it would be. Of course, there's quite a bit of iron mixed in with this. So, if it's just iron, this magnet will stick regardless of the north-south orientation. So, that's not sticking or being repelled by a magnet. That's just iron. There's steel. Stick. No matter which way you put the magnet. If there were a working magnet just like this under here, you'd be able to tell. In one direction it would attract. Of course, you flip the polarity north-south over, it would repel. There doesn't seem to be any magnet left in here. Digging that out. I do not think I'm going to try to bother with that. This stuff, the aluminum oxide is pretty hard stuff. In fact, I use it for grinding purposes, polishing, that sort of thing. Chemically pretty much inert in that form, unlike aluminum, or the oxide of it. It's already oxidized. You can't burn it, and it does really make an excellent polishing material for different things. I've used it myself. So let's see what else. This is, well, that useless. Did it break any of the pots, or either of these two pots? Doesn't look like. There's a piece of cardboard just stuck there in the bottom to keep the kitty litter from falling out of that hole. And by the looks of this, it's not been overstressed by temperature at all. It's just a piece of cardboard. I don't expect this to be any different. A couple of globules, maybe. Yeah, just a little bit of iron in that, sticking to these magnets. Then you roll this around in here, you probably pick up all little, little nuggets of iron that ended up in there. And so, set that aside, dump this out without making too much of a mess. And the piece of cardboard that blocked that hole down at the bottom. Clearly this did not over temperature, at least nothing evident. I see no crack. There's oxidized the aluminum on here. Probably a little bit of magnesium too, obviously. That was what I used to ignite it. So that pot, I don't see any fissures, cracks, chips, nothing. So certainly can reuse that one. I've used this pot for this the third burn for this pot, and no cracks, nothing, no discoloration. Again, with the some splatter, some aluminum oxide up here, a little bit of iron. Yeah. So that's going to be reused. Both of these will. Got several, but no, they're still usable. Why not? Why not use them? I can reuse this too. Let me pick out some of the nuggets. Don't need those in there. I'm going to go through baking process again just to be sure. I do believe that helps. I've seen experiments done with these where they just buy the pot from Heckinger's or wherever. Excuse me. Fill it up, set it to fire, and the thing just immediately gets cracks and falls apart. Oh jeez, pardon me. Oh, neat. I gotta check, make sure. It did knock it off course a little bit. Plus the batteries in this camera are on their last legs. So I don't want to spend too much time with this, but these will be where I was going is this clay, even though it has been fired, it is absorbent, moisture absorbent. If left to sit, or especially if you put dirt in it and start watering your plants, it soaks them. And as you buy them from the store, they've been sitting on the shelf absorbing all of the wonderful 50% humidity, which is typical in a HVAC controlled area. And they're not soaked, but they do contain water. It soaks into it. It's a good idea to cook that out. It's not difficult to do. Just about any oven or range oven can get hot enough. Excuse me. I cooked them as I basically turn the thing all the way up as high as it would go. Our oven will get you to about 530 degrees Fahrenheit consistently. Even if you set it on the broil setting, which is constant flame, it doesn't even care about the thermostat in there. It's about as high as it'll go, 538 degrees. All it really does is reduce the amount of time you need to let them cook. 300 degrees Fahrenheit will do the trick too. Just leave them in there longer, a few hours, 3, maybe 4 hours. As I mentioned in a previous video, I did once set this up. I did cook, or let's see, lightly bake the whole setup. Most of that dried moisture out of this kitty litter, which tends to be kind of dry anyway, because if it's not, it clumps. Nevertheless, drive off that. There were no smoke, there were no smells or anything coming out of the oven while I did this. Whatever this clumping material is, it's not. I don't think it's a polymer. It could be, but I don't think it is. Could be starch. I mean, something as simple as that. So I'll be using, reusing all of this stuff here, except for this glob of melted iron, steel, fused kitty litter, clay, and maybe a small part of a magnet down in there. I may crunch this open. It's aluminum oxide. It's interesting stuff. I'm going to play around with that some. I'm not going to put this in the trash yet. You crack it apart. But anyway, enough of this. The next burn I do with this will be a larger quantity, probably something like 2 or 3 times the weight of what I burned early this morning. which is the most I'd ever done. Not a whole lot of weight. Now, I've seen guys, they take a larger pot like this and just fill the whole thing up. Thermite, no insulation, nothing, just fill it up, and it's quite a sight to see. Obviously, you can look around on YouTube, you'll see it. It's kind of cool. Mythbusters did an article on it that was kind of nifty. They wanted to see if it would burn a vehicle in half. It didn't quite do that, but it was still a very interesting thing to watch. If you can find it, it's not hard. Look up Mythbusters Thermite, you'll find it. So I'm going to do at least 2 more videos with this, each time upping the ante a little bit with the amount. I may try some different ratios, mixtures. What I've been using so far is 2 to 1. 2 parts rust, 1 part aluminum. And this seems to work well enough for demonstration purposes. If you wanted more pure iron, you probably would use less aluminum. You want a more vigorous reaction, you might use more aluminum. All of these things are, I'll play with, but leave it up to you to discover these things on yourself if you got time. And well, stuff ain't cheap to buy. To give you an idea, I bought, all told, let's see, I bought 6 pounds of aluminum powder, 5 pounds of rust powder, 6 flower pots, 3 small ones, 3 large ones, and a 25-gram roll of magnesium ribbon, which I haven't gotten yet. All told, it's cost me just over $100 shipped, except for the flower pots. I went to the store and bought those, but the chemicals I just ordered from Alpha. They got here very quickly. For some reason, they're shipping the magnesium by ground, probably from some homeless person. They gave $5 and say, see if you can get this there by like next month or so. So I won't be seeing that for a while. Fortunately, I have some magnesium metal here. It's not ribbon, but they're discs, and can be easily cut with a hacksaw slowly into thinnish ribbons, thin enough to get ignition temperatures with a propane torch or a MAP gas torch. Oh, and there's more about MAP gas than meets the eye these days, and I will discuss that later. This clip's probably getting a little bit long, so until next time, you know the drill. Say it.